Okay, so I did my last video, the one on Janet Jackson's divorce, and sure enough, in the comments, a woman comes in to have her say. Not about the video, but about the other comments. I've got it on screen here, but for those not watching, it says, "So many misogynistic comments. Wow." Obviously, she's insinuating that the comments spring from a well of unbridled, irrational hatred for women that is, like other forms of bigotry, based on ignorance and intolerance. She's dead wrong, of course, but I'll get to that in a bit. There wasn't any surprise in what she had to say, though. I get these kinds of comments all the time related to my work. Sometimes they come from national and international news outlets. Usually, though, it comes from some woman who stumbles on one of my videos, clutches her pearls, and manages to call me or my viewers misogynistic before collapsing on the fainting couch. As a matter of fact, it has been a common theme in my work for a long time. I was so accustomed to it 10 years ago that I parked my first website at thehappymisogynist.com and gave the same name to my first YouTube channel as a tongue-in-cheek response to the constant drumbeat of virtue signaling from feminist and blue pill tradcons. And I suppose in fairness it is somewhat understandable. I have a lot of things to say that a good many women don't want to hear. My viewers also have a lot of things to say that a good many women don't want to hear. And of course, we live in an age when if you say something that more than a few women don't want to hear, it's misogyny. That's how most people define it these days. If you criticize a certain type of woman, or any woman for that matter, it must be because you hate all women. Funny thing is, I have always had a lot of things to say about men that fall way short of flattering too, but those looking for misogyny under every rock never seem to notice, and they don't call me misandric. I suspect that most of them don't even know what that word means. Also, totally unsurprising. So with all that behind me, I decided to make today's talk about misogyny, perhaps the most overused and misapplied word in Western history. One definition of the word that I've gone by for years and still do for the most part is that a misogynist is a man who thinks women are rational, mature, and accountable human beings and expects them to act that way. That is certainly fitting in terms of the people who play the misogyny card every time they see a woman being held to account for her behavior. And of course, I can't just let it go without saying that those are the true misogynists. If you don't respect women enough as autonomous human beings with adult agency to hold them to the same standards that you would a man, then that, of course, is the real misogyny. It's symptomatic of people who view women as children and who embrace expectations of them commensurate with that view. If you live by mantras like "believe the woman," mindless of the standards of credibility and evidence you would put on men, then you can only do so with women's inferiority as a given. You can't expect women to stand their ground and make their case like men because secretly, or perhaps not so secretly, you don't credit them with the capability of doing so. The one thing that true misogynists, the feminists and white knights of the world, all have in common is that underneath all their bristling about women being as strong as men, about their innate equality, is that all that falls apart the moment women are even theoretically held to account for anything they do. I saw a good example of this recently over a short YouTube video from a Berkeley riot that ended up with commentary about it on my Twitter feed. There was a clash between Trump supporters at a free speech rally and a group called Antifa. For those of you who don't know, Antifa is a group of fascists who wear masks and try in earnest to shut down free speech in the name of anti-fascism. Don't look at me. I don't make this shit up. Anyway, from what I know, most of their members tend to grow out of it once they have to get jobs and start paying their own light bills. As you can see from the video here, This dreadlock-wearing white girl really wants in on the action, so she tries to assault a male Trump supporter who quite understandably cleans her clock. I will skip any commentary on the woman's judgment. Suffice it to say, though, that she stepped up like a good fascist and put her body on the line just before being sent to the pavement like a sack of potatoes. Now, in my mind, anyone supporting women's equality sees this as cut and dried. She showed up just like her male friends and started shit just like her male friends and attacked people physically because she wanted to silence their ideas in the name of anti-fascism just like her male friends. And the man she attacked showed no sexual discrimination at all in his response. He delivered a hard right to the face and assumedly moved on to other altercations while she laid there and tried to figure out what happened. Equality in action, my friends. Spontaneous, unplanned equality. The very best kind. And I'm certain that anyone with an interest in a society that values equality would see it that way. But of course, that is not the way most people who claim to be passionate about equality between the sexes see it. When Sargon of Akkad made a snarky but quite appropriate tweet about the incident, in less than a day, he got this response. Only cowards defend hitting women. There is never a reason, says the outraged Emiliano Lincoln, a resist Trump devotee. Now to me, this is about as misogynistic as you can get. His response to Miss Dreadlocks assuming her rightful place in the riot was to insinuate that she, as a woman, can't really handle being there. She is so fragile, thinks this white knight, that she needs to be able to wade into a violent crowd wearing a mask and start attacking people with no expectation of retribution. That is misogyny, pure and simple, and it is just wrong, like all forms of discrimination. We don't need to just defend women like this getting the living shit punched out of them. We need to celebrate it as 100% of their equal treatment in the world. We need to be there to root them on as they come to, splash some water in their face, help them back to their feet and shove them back into the melee for more. Because that is what we do with men. I think the problem here is that most people who caterwaul the loudest and demand equality the most stridently don't realize something very fundamental to the concept. Equality is a cruel master, or if you prefer, a cruel mistress. Equality doesn't give a fuck if you lack the upper body strength to deliver a knockout punch, or if you have a glass jaw, or if your opponent is bigger, stronger, smarter, or more capable than you. Equality means you bring what you have to the table with everyone else. You get in the same foxholes, you dodge the same bullets, you take the same blows, and you either hold your own or get out of the game. Equality means you just get the same opportunities. It doesn't mean you get to change the rules in the middle of a riot. Now that is just one side of the misogyny coin for the purpose of this discussion. I know the small cadre of downvoters who regularly patronize my channel will want to accuse me of deflecting the point, of shifting the topic away from the spirit of what the pearl clutcher intended when she observed all the supposed misogyny in the comments here. Of course I'm going to address what she said more directly. What do you think I am? A feminist? There are a lot of comments on this channel that are of the all women are bitches and hoes variety. And for a lot of people, that alone is case closed. That is misogyny and no further consideration is needed. But of course, this is a myopic approach, quite similar to the knee-jerk reactions we find in the there is never a reason crowd when it comes to hitting women, even women who are coming at your throat in a brawl. Personally, I don't subscribe to the all women are bitches and hoes worldview. That has not been my experience. Quite the opposite. I know several women who I greatly admire and whom I consider good, trustworthy friends. But here's the deal. I was never able to get to that point in life until I absolutely rejected and quit tolerating the nonsense so common to women these days. The irrationality, the lack of accountability, the greed, the terminal immaturity, the predatory opportunism, the sexual and emotional manipulation, the sense of entitlement and privilege while claiming simultaneously to be oppressed victims. I'll stop the list there, but I could go on for a long time. It was only when I shut that shit down, all of it, that I was able to attract women into my life who were capable of giving something better, in friendship or any other kind of relationship. The thing is, whether the pearl-clutching virtue signalers want to admit it or not, hating those shitty aspects in anyone, women included, is not hatred of a class of people. The men at this channel, myself included, hate those things because they are rejection-worthy human traits that no one should tolerate. That isn't misogyny, it's self-respect. And it only gets branded as misogyny because we live in a world so misogynistic that it can't handle women being treated as fully adult human beings who can put their big girl panties on and roll with the punches like everyone else. And that is a shame. Because if we could, as a culture, hold women to the same standards for integrity, personal accountability, maturity, and usefulness to society that we hold men, it would take less than a generation for the ever-widening gender gap to be closed. And it could be closed much faster than that, but for the fact that this society, with feminism, blue pill traditionalism, and the like, actually encourages women to celebrate these despicable human failings. The men in these comments aren't misogynists. They're realists. They've had enough of what this culture is shaping women to be and enough of being told to shut up about it. Like the guy in the video, they are punching back, not with fists, but with ideas and with a strong dose of their own dignity. If you can't handle that, stay the fuck off my channel till you grow up enough to join the adults in the room.